right, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. I've got a couple of interesting stories for you guys today. The first story that I've got for you guys today, just moments ago, the competitor list for this weekend's Tsunami Pro in France just got posted. And I've been really excited to see this list because I was kind of curious. I was wondering if maybe we're going to get another massive surprise here. If you guys remember last year, this was the same show that right before the Olympia, out of nowhere, Samson Dauda decided to compete. And so I was maybe wondering a little bit if we would see him do that again this year. Now that the competitor list is out, obviously he's not on the list, so it looks like he's not doing that. But I was kind of holding out hope that maybe we would see a surprise here, or maybe even Urs. And I was kind of thinking, we could get this unique scenario here. Just like a little random preview, maybe an Urs versus Samson thing. But there are some names that I am excited to see on this list. So let's go through the list here. So you've got Roman Bagas, Nick Bostock, Louis Breed is back for this show, Tim Budesheim back for this show, Roberto Bonomo back for this show, Sergey Danilov, Quint Beastwood. I'm really excited to see that Quentin is back for this show. If he wins, which looking at this list, I think he's probably the favorite. He will get the earliest possible qualification for the 2026 Mr. Olympia, which I think would be fantastic for him. You've also got Maritz Hahnemann. James Hollingshead is doing this show, so a guy that we haven't seen at all yet this competitive season in 2025. Max Johnson. Theo Leguerrier is returning for this show. Mateusz Lewandowski. Thibault Lagier. Stephane Matala, who we've talked a lot about, Stephane NFC, confirmed on this lineup. Hassan Mostafa, another guy that we haven't seen compete at all this competitive season 2025. Sultan Radon, Manuel Santalucia, and Dominic Woiwat. So let's talk about Quint Beastwood first. I believe this update, he's posted a few updates that were like throwbacks from his Italy prep and throwbacks from his Germany prep. This update that was posted 23 hours ago, I believe, is the most recent, in that this would be from his prep for the France show, because this one, he's back at his gym in Canada. All the other updates that we saw from Italy or from the UK when he was staying with Samson, I believe this is the most recent. And like I said, when I introduced that list, I think that Quentin is, looking at this list, I think he's the favorite to win. Urs is not here. In fact, nobody that has beaten Quentin in 2025 is here. So without a doubt, he's the guy that I'm rooting for the most. I think that, like I've said, we've watched Quentin do all these shows this season. He's been right there, right on the edge. Bunch of second place finishes, the always a bridesmaid, never a bride type of scenarios. I think this will be the one that he gets it, unless something goes horribly wrong. I think for Quentin not to win this, he'd have to come in really off. And looking at these updates, I think he looks phenomenal in these updates, assuming these are the most recent. And also, this is the only one that he doesn't say in the caption is a throwback. It says, keep on pushing. He looks great. His condition looks great. As long as he doesn't completely miss the mark, I think he's going to win this show. Because at the very least, he's shown relative consistency. He's competed in Texas. He's competed in Tampa. He's competed in these Europe shows. And in all of these shows that he's done, he's been right there in the center of the first call out, second or third, almost winning the show. So at least throughout all these shows that he's done, at all of them, he's been right there in the conversation for the win. He had like no drastically low placings or anything. So he's been pretty consistent with how he shows up to these shows. And I'm hoping that would mean that France is no different. And I think that this would be a really feel-good story for Quentin if he is able to win. Now, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Will he win the show? Because one guy that he has not contended with, that has a very different physique from him, that's doing this show, Hassan Mostafa. Now, this update from Hassan was posted yesterday, so this would be exactly 1 week out from the show this weekend. And I think, obviously, Hassan has a very different physique from Quentin. He's a little bit shorter. He's a little bit blockier. He's definitely a mass monster, a ton of muscle. To be honest, looking at some of the updates that I've seen from Hassan recently, I don't know how good his condition is actually looking in these updates. I don't know if he looks like he's a week out in these photos and videos, especially that midsection. The midsection has been something that he's been struggling with. It seems like a little bit more as his career has progressed. And when you look at that midsection, it just, to me, doesn't look like a week out. And I think even if you put condition to the side, if you compare the shape of Quinton to the shape of Hassan, I think Hassan looks a lot worse by comparison because Quinton obviously has this crazy small waist, this great V-taper, a very aesthetically appealing physique. And I feel like that has really worked to Quinton's advantage so far, and I think in this scenario it probably would as well. And looking at Hassan's like recent contest history, 2024 was not the best year for him. He had an 8th place finish at the Chicago Pro in 2024, a sixth place finish at the Toronto Pro in 2024. And I believe actually Quinton was at that show, right? Okay, yeah, Quinton did compete in the 2024 Toronto Pro. He was second at that show as well. And so he was 4 placings ahead of Hassan the last time they went head-to-head. So maybe Quinton doesn't necessarily need to worry about Hassan because that version of Quinton last year was certainly not the same version of Quinton that we've been seeing this year. So maybe Hassan is not necessarily somebody for him to worry about here. Then you've also got another wild card, Stephane Matala. We've talked a lot about this guy. Now, as far as Stephane goes, I haven't seen a new update posted since this update, which we've already talked about. And this update was 6 days ago, so it was probably right around 2 weeks out that they took this. Stephane, again, making his open bodybuilding debut, coming over from Classic Physique. I think the main thing that we're probably looking to see from Stephane is how does he stack up size-wise in an open lineup. Obviously in a lot of these updates on his own, he doesn't look like he's small. We've seen the numbers. He's about, I think, 35, 40 pounds heavier than he was in Classic Physique for the Classic Physique weight limit. So on the scale, he's bigger. On his own, in these updates, he looks big. I think that's kind of the question is, how's that going to translate to an open stage when he's in a call-out with bigger open guys, especially when you're talking about guys like, Quinton and Hassan Mostafa. These are bigger open guys for sure. And then how much are Stephane's aesthetics, how much are those going to help him in this situation where he's next to a really big open guy that's aesthetically pleasing, being Quinton? And then also Theo Leguerrier. He has a home field advantage here. He's returning to France. He was third at this show last year. And honestly, I was really surprised to see how poorly Theo placed at both of these last 2 shows. The Europa Pro, he wound up in 12th place. And the Pro Muscle Italy, he wound up in 7th. I was expecting him to be much more in the conversation, but at both of those shows, he was a second call-out guy at best. In 2024, like I said, he was 3rd at the Tsunami Pro. He was 15th at the Olympia. Had a great year in 2023, winning the Japan. He won the Japan Pro. He won the Italy show, the Olympus Pro in 2023, and then he was top 2, top 4 most of the shows that he did that year. So 2025, not a great year for him so far. I feel like at the Europa show specifically, the condition was off. I feel like his midsection looks a little bit blown out from how it used to look maybe in 2023. That could be part of it. But maybe he won't be in the mix here again. I mean, I really thought he would be at those other 2 shows. But he doesn't look like the Theo Leguerrier that we were used to maybe 2023-ish. And these updates are from 1 day ago, so 1 week out and 1.5 weeks out, respectively, of Theo. And he looks like he's in good shape in the updates. I mean, the lighting is good. It's goon lighting. That's probably why. But, I mean, I was really surprised with how poorly he's done at these past couple of shows. Maybe he'll do better here. But then I think the biggest wild card of all, James the Shed Hollingshead. I think this was kind of unexpected that he was doing this show because I'm looking through his Instagram right now, and the most recent post that I've seen from James 6 days ago, as far as physique updates, and I'm looking through the physique updates, and he's not saying I'm X amount of weeks out. He's not talking about doing this particular show. And of course, he looks like trademark James Hollingshead. He looks grainy, he looks conditioned, striated glutes, dry, hard. And I guess we haven't seen James. I guess we did see him in 2025. He did do the Detroit show. That was so long ago. It feels like it was last year. Yeah, so he did Detroit and he did the Arnold. At the Arnold, he was 8th, and at Detroit, he was 3rd. Man, that feels like forever ago. And so when was the last time that we saw James? Prior to those two shows, was it 2023? In 2023, he won the Tsunami Cup Pro. I guess that's the same show as this. So I suppose it's possible that James could be the biggest threat here to Quinton. He certainly looks good in these updates. I think you would certainly classify James as a seasoned vet. He's been to the Olympia. He's won several shows. He's been to the Arnold. He's done the bigger shows. I could see him being pretty dangerous here, and maybe this would end up being a show between Quinton and James. I'm just rooting for Quinton so much here because seeing him come so close at all these shows, I really, really want to see Quinton win this one. So I feel like I really want to say Quinton's the favorite here and that he's the guy that I've got winning. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Could James Hollingshead kind of sneak in here and win this show? Or is this one going to be the one where Quinton finally gets that validation? He's going to the Olympia 2026, and he has all year to prepare only on that or focus only on that goal. That could be the scenario that we're looking at here. But let me know your predictions for this weekend's Tsunami Cup Pro. But the video's not ending there. We got other stuff to talk about here. So next up in the news, we got some really impressive updates from Ramon Dino at 3 weeks out. And it's really crazy to think that in a few days, we'll be talking about 2 weeks out from the Olympia. It's almost here. And I'm not entirely sure why Ramon is posting these updates that are like really dark. And I've seen some pages have like turned up the brightness on these photos so they're a little bit easier to see. I think he's maybe doing that intentionally to be a little bit mysterious here. But I got to say, I think honestly, looking at the classic physique lineup, I do think it's like impossible to predict who's going to win this show. But even taking into consideration on paper who's the favorite, I really do think that last year at the Olympia, Ramon only slipped out of that top 2 spot because he was really off. I don't think he's going to be off this year. And I think if he comes in on, he's going to be back in that top 2. And I'm looking at some of these pictures, even though they're really dark, and side chest is crazy. Those side shots look great. The crucifix pose looks great. But I look at that front double bicep, and even though it's dark, Ramon looks insane in that front double. Just head to toe, I feel like he just looks very balanced. He doesn't have like any overwhelming dominant muscle groups that are like overpowering other body parts. It's just a really solid front double bicep. And I look at that shot and I look at the shape that he's in. You look at the separation in his legs. You look at the detail in his abs. I feel like he's going to be very dangerous at the Olympia this year. And I think if he's in shape, he's conditioned, he's not flat, he doesn't have issues making weight, I think he's going to be extremely dangerous if he's back at 100%. Because I think the only reason he was out of that conversation is because he was off. And I really think if he comes in on, which it looks like he's going to, I think he's going to be right back in that top 2 conversation. I really do. I don't know who else is going to be in that top 2 with him. Maybe Mike, maybe Terrence, maybe even Logan. But I don't know about you guys. But for me, when I look at pictures like this of Ramon, I think this guy is bringing it, and I think all the other classic guys that are looking at this picture, this series of pictures, are thinking the same thing. That's the guy to beat. This guy is dangerous. And kind of like I talked about with Nick Walker's latest update, how impressive that update was, I feel like for me, Ramon has kind of been that guy with classic physique. When he posts an update, I feel like it's the most impactful of the guys that we're talking about. And it's the most impressive. It's the most, like, he's the guy that really stands out. When we see a new Ramon physique update, I feel like that sticks in my mind more than any of the other guys right now. And I think that's saying something. I would not be surprised if Ramon ends up winning the Olympia this year. I really wouldn't. And I know there's been this conversation about him eventually moving to open. There's been the conversation about him struggling with the weight cap. If he doesn't struggle this year, and he's on, there's no like last minute making weight, I will not be surprised if he wins the Classic Physique Olympia. I'm being genuine that I think there's a real shot, but let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Now, next up in the news, we did get another recent physique update from Hadi. Choopan, he says a few days ago, and that this would have been 22 days out during the time that he was stuck in Dubai. Now, really, I don't think we can tell a lot from this picture. It's just a front double bicep. You're not seeing his legs, which I don't think we've seen much of, except for maybe a little bit from the side where he's like lifted up his shorts when he's posing, like an abs and thighs shot. But we haven't seen his full leg from the front. He's not showing his midsection here. I don't think we've seen much of his back as far as this prep is concerned. At least not that I can remember. I can't remember him showing, any back poses or anything. And I will say that up until recently, Hadi was probably my pick to sneak up and win the Open Olympia this year. Up until this last minute visa thing, up until him being stuck in Dubai, I really think that, and maybe he still is my pick. I really think that so many people have just kind of forgot about him and counted him out. And I think a lot of us are thinking about Derek and Nick and Samson, when I think Hadi is kind of the silent guy that's grinding in the background that we know always comes in shape. He's always going to beat guys that are off. He's always going to bring that crazy condition. I feel like he's the guy that we forget about and could probably just sneak in here and win again this year. He beat Derek at the Olympia last year. We saw Samson show a little bit of weakness at the Arnold by losing to Derek. We saw Derek show weakness by almost losing to Nick in Pittsburgh. Hadi's the only guy that we haven't seen all year show any level of weakness like that. And the only concern has this visa process impacted how he's going to look, impacted his prep, impacted the time that he might have with Hani to maybe correct anything that is, off. And then going over to Samson, I know we haven't talked much about Samson lately. Samson posted this physique update that said the point in your prep where you see a mirror and you're checking yourself, or where every time you see a mirror, you're checking yourself out. You can see he's got some striations in his tricep. He looks like he's in really good shape. Not really a full-blown physique update. We did get to see a guest posing of him, just a few weeks ago, so that's probably the last time that we talked about Samson. But in fairness to Samson, he is the returning defending Olympia champ, so he does have that champion's advantage. Frankly, I don't think we're going to see a dominant Mr. Olympia champ. I don't think that we've seen one since Phil Heath. I don't think anybody that has won the Olympia since Phil has been dominant or shown that they can be dominant. And what I mean by that is going to set up a dynasty, going on an Olympia title run where they're not just winning 2 like Rami won, but 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years. I don't know if we've seen that person yet. I don't think that person is Derek. I don't think that person is Samson. I mean, Samson's on the older end of the spectrum. Samson's almost 40. I think he's been a great Mr. Olympia champ. I think he's been a great ambassador for the title. But do I necessarily see Samson as the guy that's going to become a 4, 5, 6-time Olympia champ? I don't. And for that matter, I don't see Hadi that way. I don't see Derek that way. I don't see anybody that has won recently in that way. I don't think there's been a guy yet in this new crop of guys that has been like a Phil. And I think Phil said it best. He recently did an interview where he was talking, I believe he was talking about Keon. But he said, the next guy that I think can do that in Open and go on a run like that is currently competing in the wrong division. I think he's talking about Keon. I personally just don't feel like we've seen the guy that's going to go on that run yet. At least haven't seen them in Open. And I think like Big Rami, for example. Big Rami has been the guy that came the closest to it because he did win 2 titles. And he's, by the way, the only guy that has won more than once since Phil left. And to be honest, I'm going to be extremely disappointed in Rami if he truly does not show up to the Olympia this year. After that, few weeks of his Instagram posting that he's going to be back, the winter is coming, 2025, I'm going to win my title back. I'm hearing from friends of his that he's actually going to do it. Now, we haven't heard a peep from Rami, nothing at all. And I suppose that would be the most exciting way to do it if he does come back. He is qualified for life. It hasn't been more than 5 years since he's won the title. So in theory, we know that he doesn't have to compete. He could just show up on the Olympia stage on the day of prejudging and shock the world, and nobody is expecting it. And there's really no reason to say that he's not doing that. But I personally think that it's very telling that we haven't seen or heard anything from Ramy. And now that we're 2 weeks out, I think we're going to know really soon. I'm sure Ramy, if he does do it, I'm sure Ramy or somebody in his team or someone close to him, someone's going to post. Someone's going to see him. Maybe a fan will see him if he's in Vegas before the show, which he's probably going to be there a week or two in advance. Someone's going to see him if he's here, and I think we'll probably know before the day of the show, and it's not going to be just a surprise, here I am at prejudging. Someone's going to see him in Vegas if he's there. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below about all these stories today about who's going to win the next Olympia. Do you think there has been a dominant champ in Open yet? Do you think Samson is the guy that's going to win 4, 5, 6 Olympia titles? Or do you think we have not seen that guy yet? Or even, is it a guy that we've seen but has not won the Olympia yet? Let me know in the comments down below. That's going to wrap it up for the video today, guys. I hope you did, in fact, enjoy it. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, click that bell notification icon if you have not already. And as always, I love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power signing out. All right, guys, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy the content. Also, check out my Instagram at Nick Strength Power. My Facebook page, which is simply Nick Strength and Power. My secondary YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Vlogs, for vlogs and bonus content that you will not see on this channel. And consider subscribing to my third YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Pokemon, which is all things Pokemon and trading card games, completely unrelated to this channel. So if you're into that, give that one a look. And all links to merchandise and social media will be in the description box below. If you guys want a Nick Strength and Power t-shirt, that will be in the Shopify link below. Have a great day.